Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's another glorious Thursday morning, March 23rd. The end of the financial year is barking from a very short distance away. All you business owners, no doubt, got your head in the books, putting the finishing touches to all of those projects, chasing invoices, getting money in the bank for the end of the financial year. What a day. Busy week, my friend. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. Even so much better than I was because it was the first day of spring earlier this week. On the 20th, we transitioned from that winter into spring. And I was so excited, I wet my plants. It was brilliant. I went out and watered the garden. But it's spring, a beginning, the start of something new and something fresh. It's lovely. The sun is shining. I couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier because that winter is being left behind and the sunshine is coming through. Oh, brilliant.
And you know what? It gets even better because today's show is all about communication. Communication, my favorite subject. As I realise my communication is starting to get a little bit blocky. Let me try and sort out my my connection. Hold tight.
Yeah, no, you're still here. You're still here. It was one of those things like everything went slow, and you carried on at the same speed in your audio. It was quite freaky, quite weird, quite strange. But yeah, communication. Nick, we've been out over the last month and a half, and we've got all of next week as well, where we're going out and we're working with organisations and we're talking about communication, typically leadership. Management, communication, and we're doing a lot around speaking and presenting, which is, of course, communication, allowing people to communicate better with their audience, to stand up in front of those live people in the room, because it's really exciting because this is not virtual, this is in the room, and allowing them to share their content, their message, and communicate better. And we've had some fantastic days working with some marvelous team members from different organizations. And I know we're going to recap a little bit of that today and share some of the golden nuggets with our listeners and viewers, and maybe some things they can take away and use in their day-to-day life, and how they can communicate better and more efficiently and more effectively.
I think we could all do better. One of the things about communication, like most things, right, it shifts. The methods shift. What we want from it shifts. The core bits stay the same if you're lucky, but so much around the outside changes. Hence, we now communicate like this. Lovely audience, please interact. Ask questions, say hello, say good morning, happily give you a shout out. We now communicate like that. We communicate across teams. It's beautiful to be back in the room with individuals, organizations, big teams, small teams. It's brilliant to be face to face. But everything's shifted, right? It was shifting way before the pandemic. So it's about time, right? We sit down and have a proper conversation about what's going on with our communication and how do we make it more human centric, because it's really tough. We're drowning in an ocean of noise, and it's very, very difficult to get through that noise with our communication, even though we've never had so many options, so many varieties and flavors of communication on offer. Just adds to that noise. I'll be interested, audience, what is the best way for you and your business to get through, or the best way for you to get through to people that you care about? So you get home or you're working from home. How's the best way of communicating with your family as well? Do you have to text your kids when it's tea time? Or can you still shout up the stairs? Do you have to let them know that tea's ready through Alexa? Or do you have to email them? This sort of conversation wouldn't have happened when I was a youngster, right? And okay, so I'm old-ish, but it's transition. It's so quick that everything has shifted. So yeah, here's a big question for you: how do you get kids downstairs at tea time? Right, that'll kick off a few conversations.
Let me kick off with this then. Now, you know that I like a bit of technology, and my house is got a fair amount of tech wired throughout it, or wireless as well. And I do have a number of those smart friends dotted around the house. Probably one
friends.
friend, probably one in every room somewhere along those lines for controlling smart devices like lighting and heating and stuff like that. But I'll be honest, my daughter is quite often playing in her bedroom Barbie or something like that. And rather than running all the way up the stairs or shouting at the top and bellowing and annoying probably the neighbours and everyone else in the street, we do use the smart friend and send her a message. And then we get a reply back. She then sends a reply back through the smart friend. The reason I'm not saying it, by the way, because I don't want it triggering. And then she does come down. And quite often we use the drop-in functionality just to check in on her and stuff like that. So I love a bit of tech, but there's a balance to have, isn't there? I mean, I think it's useful, isn't it? You know, the days of bellowing up the stairs, don't need to do that anymore. Just use your technical friend and, say, come on, dinner's ready. Or what do you want for dinner? Or are you ready to come down? Are you out the shower yet? Whatever that looks like. Tech has a place to play in our everyday lives. But I suppose we've got to get that balance right. How many of us sit around the dining room table these days now? Or maybe in bed next to your partner, wife, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever that is, and you got this in your hand, and you're more involved in this than you are them. No wonder children are being born a lot less. I don't know if that's an actual fact or not, but you get where I'm going with
it. Carry on, mate. Carry on. You're on a roll here.
Yeah, but you can just imagine, that intimate moment is just destroyed. Hold on, love. Hold on, just 2 secs. I've just got to finish uploading my social status or whatever that might be.
Yeah, well, you're updating Facebook, about to get jiggy. Is that a thing? I don't know. Is that a button you press? I don't know. A different kind of button. I'm not sure. Yeah, everything has changed. Everything's shifted, right? And it's. We'll talk about it, and you think it's laughable, but how many? Right? It doesn't need to be in the bedroom. You could be sitting watching something on telly. How many couples? Okay. Are on their devices, or right, you're on your own watching telly, but you're on your device as well, or you've gone out for dinner, intimate, lovely, romance is in the air, and you're both on your devices, or the device is invited as well because it keeps pinging in your pocket, and you think something's going on, must be worth looking at. I'm important, so I best check my phone, or right. You're out for dinner. You're having a very intimate, romantic meal, right? Having a lovely conversation with your partner. But the couple on the table next to you, right? They're on their phone all night, right? And you're almost sniggering to yourselves. Look at that. Look at them, right? Look at them. Look. I don't know what's going on in their relationship, but they're on their phones, right? What's the point? They've come out to dinner. They're not even talking. They're on their phones. And then your partner goes to the toilet, and the first thing you do is get your phone out to see what you've missed while they're going for a tinkle. Nonsense. It's nonsense. The world has shifted.
The fact is they're sitting there out for a romantic dinner, candle in the middle, texting away, and they're texting probably their other kind of bit on the side, their floozy or something like that. Yeah, sorry, I can't be with you tonight. I'm out with, with John or Mary or whatever.
Is floozy still a word?
Well, I'm using it now. I assume it is. And of course, there's Colin has put, good morning, Colin. There's bound to be an app for that. Absolutely. I think there's an app for everything. I use that terminology very often. There's going to be an app for that. Let me find out if there's an app for that. And good morning to Sharon as well. Great to have you with us this morning, Sharon. Is there an app for that, Sharon? I know in your world of accounting and stuff like that, there's going to be an app for your numbers. But there's applications all around us, and they're all about communicating better. But there's got to be a human balance. And Nick, you're a human communicator. Tell us what we should be doing better as humans, how we can communicate better. What can we take away? What can everyone take away from today to do something just one little bit a bit better to make us better human communicators?
And I fell into being a human-centric communication specialist, only because, like you, mate, massive fan of communication, help organizations, teams, individuals communicate better. And the biggest issues I found was people were letting the technology do far too much of the heavy lifting, far too much. Hence, the more and more work I did, it became more and more human-centric, because that's the stuff that gets through. Okay, and the crux of it is we fell in love with cheap, easy, convenient. right? Absolutely devoted, cheap, easy, convenient. If we can find something that's cheaper, easier, more convenient, we love it. But to do that, we've had to sacrifice empathy, rapport, and human resonance. That lovely feeling. I really get where you're coming from. Feeling. So, as a very, very easy, quick go-to when you're communicating with someone, if you want to make it human-centric, okay, it turns out it's not as easy as it should be, but work really hard on communicating what it looks like, what it feels like. If you can communicate what it looks and feels like, you are doing much better than most of the population. What does it look and feel like? I'll challenge you during the show. And when we get the magical May King on any second now, we'll challenge ourselves. What does it look and feel like? You know, when you're talking about using your, let's say, digital friend. I thought I used to be your smart friend, but no, you got loads of those. What does that experience look and feel like?
Yeah. Simon's hit the nail on the head. Look at this. Over 80% of any job is how you communicate with people. I agree, Simon. I mean, we talk about communication in many different ways, but if we don't communicate, this is what we're learning when we're out working with a number of different organizations, some very, very large organizations, and communication is stopping their ability to communicate, obviously, but stopping their ability to grow their organization even further and to pick out the problematic issues that they have within the business as well. Because communication is not only about being funneled down from the top, i.e. from, the CEO or the board, but it's about the communication going back up the chain. And we're hearing a lot of this, that communication could be better. And we're asking the question, well, how can we make it better? What can we do? I'm just going to pick on a quick subject before we bring May King, who's been waiting patiently, but I know she's tweeting and keeping everyone up there updated, and the fear of missing out is taking a storm. But we haven't done the newspapers for many, many months, because every time we go to look at the news, it's kind of doom and gloom, and we're not a doom and gloom show. We like to kind of be fun and energetic and set your day up after you have your breakfast listening to us. But I did have to pick these up. Now, we can't escape the fact, if you turn your radio on, turn your TV on, pick up a newspaper, the front page, it's all about Boris. Yes, Boris Johnson is making the headlines yet again. But I saw this and I had to put this on the screen. Boris, the backlash. But what I liked about this is above it, Whopper or Burger King have got their headline, "There's no smoke without fire." And I just thought, what great positioning, what great communication. So I thought that was really good. And then I saw this one from the Daily Star. Yeah, but no, but yeah, but no, but yeah, but no, but yeah. Pinocchio clears up all that faff around parties at number 10. And I just love the way that the headlines are a bit more fun rather than doom and gloom. The story's doom and gloom, but let's make a light load of it. Let's have a bit of fun with it. And let's be honest, Boris is doing himself no favours whatsoever.
I'm assuming that's the case, mate. I'm not going there. Okay, we spoke about this before we went live on air. I am doing my utmost, and it's quite difficult to stay away from that particular news story, because it just makes me angry. All right, nothing I can do about it. Okay, all it's going to do is just spark numerous flames. It'll make me very angry, and there's nothing I can do about it other than go down the pub and rant and rave. Waste of my time. So I don't know what's going on. I'm aware of its answering questions, but I'm not going to get involved. However, I do like the Whopper advert. Very good.
See, I knew you'd like that. Right, let's not dwell on the doom and gloom. I think it's about that time that we get May King into the studio. Straight after this, we'll see what May King has got to talk about, and let's talk more about communication. And here she is. Good morning, May King. Oh, you're going to have to hit that mute button. Yes, we can hear you then. There we are. A little
morning. How are we, folks?
Good, good, good. Yeah, a little jingle for you there, mate King, the FOMO Queen, the FOMO creator, working heavily behind the scenes to help us make people aware that they should be listening to the breakfast show and tuning in every week. The fear of missing out is a big thing. It's all about communication. What
Absolutely, and I absolutely love your stories. The big companies with their marketing is absolutely brilliant. The examples that you just showed there are known as newsjacking, and us as business owners can actually, we can also do that as well in order to show a little bit of personality into our marketing and to get people to get to know us better. So they were great examples, and also David, I was absolutely laughing my head off when you were talking about you wetting your plants earlier as well.
it's that
Spring
time
is
of
in the
year, isn't it?
air.
It's that,
It is.
it's that time of year. That's what we do. We go out and wet our plants. Making you're a communicator in a digital space. I know you speak from stage as well, so a face to face. What's happening in that kind of digital space? The communication world. All these social platforms. The fear of missing out. What's kind of happening out there at the moment? Are people still taking the likes of these social channels seriously? I kind of hear lots that people are boycotting Facebook and other platforms like Twitter due to a certain individual, Mr. Musk. What is that? What you're hearing? Is that what you're seeing? Is it that serious? Are we going to get back to a point where we don't use these digital platforms and everything goes Nick's way and we end up really communicating and having a good conversation face to face?
Do you know what you said earlier on the show? You were citing an example of how you're using your digital friend to, you call your children down. But we need to get the balance right. And I think that is absolutely, absolutely key, absolutely perfect. Because we need to embrace tech in order to progress, but we mustn't lose sight of the human-centric communication, as Nick would say as well. I was actually interviewed a few weeks ago, and I actually cited Nick's book, Modern Zombies, and also told a great story how when I lived in Australia, my partner at the time, beautiful, beautiful soul that he decided to do something wonderful. And got all his tradie mates together to redo this house. The young daughter of the parents of this house, unfortunately, the young daughter had cancer, so they wanted to put something back, just help them out to redecorate, fix the plumbing, get a washing machine in. I was like the token cleaner, so we would clean the house, sprucing everything up for the daughter to come back home at Christmas beautifully. Loads of people took a lot of time out of their way to do this. So one of the people decided to have like a Barbie, put shrimps on the Barbie and bring all the tradies together. And the parents didn't say anything. And not that they wanted, medals for what they've done, but nice thank you would have been nice. Maybe they were overwhelmed, not quite sure. But all the traders were there. I think they, left a little bit disappointed. But later on that day on Facebook, oh my gosh, they gushed all over, the tradies and sort of said how wonderful they are and so on. And it just reminded me of, Nick's book. For some reason, that young couple, and it possibly it's because they're young, they couldn't speak face to face, yet they could gush on digital. So the opposite was actually the case. So anyway, this is a really long story short to explain that we can, we need to remember that we are human beings. As Simon mentioned, 80% of any job is how you communicate with people. Great stat there, by the way, Simon. So we need to get the wording right. And quite often I'm, delivering training programs on how to create FOMO for your business. People often say, I don't know what to say on social. But as Nick would tell you, as I would tell you, well, if that person was in front of you, what would you say? And that's all you need to say. That's all you need to do on social. Use it as a tool, not to blast your message, not to sell and spam, but use that message to get people to know you, to like you. And, if they know and like your stuff, they see that you are an author, a leader in your field, then, and then they may buy from you or refer from you in time. So that's how digital marketing should be used. It is, a new way of communication because it's two-way now, you know. And yes, whilst Musk is doing his thing on Twitter, people are leaving Facebook in droves and so on. We can still use digital marketing to get our message out there, but in a human-centric way. That was really long-winded, wasn't it?
Beautifully put, Making. Beautifully put. I've made a note. You know me. I'm a note taker. Newsjacking. That's a turn of phrase that I don't think I've heard for a while, but it's really powerful, right? Take what's currently on offer and use that as a springboard to highlight what you've got. It's very cool. And you've highlighted something there, Making, around human-centric communication, and that's storytelling. Right? I wish people told more stories. Okay, because they're beautiful illustrations of, well, what do you mean by that? Well, let me tell you what I mean by that. And here comes a story that just perfectly illustrates exactly what it looks and feels like. So what does a changing face of communication, let's say for a younger couple, look and feel like? Well, it looks and feels like this. All that work, tradespeople have really gone out of their way, but they don't have, let's say, the confidence or the wherewithal to say thank you in front of a face-to-face group, but they do have the kind of the abilities to do it all online, right? Because the world has changed. That's what it looks and feels like. Brilliant. Love it. I'm loving this already. Fortunately, the show is 20 hours long today, so we've all got an opportunity to communicate.
It is all about communicating better. And as I said earlier at the beginning of the show, Nick and I have been out on our road tour, heading around, well, I say around the country, but we have been from here to there and back again. And we're out all of next week as well. Of course, if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, I would love David and Nick to come in and do some training with us around leadership management, communication, presenting and speaking, then get in touch. We'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you. But that's plug to one side. Where we have been going out on the road and working with some of these organizations, we're hearing very similar stories. And quite often we go into a business and they think that it's only their business that has this problem or this challenge of communication. We say, no. All organizations have a level of communication breakdown. And it's similar. Obviously, each business is slightly different. They have their different tastes or different sides to it. But overall, they're all got similar problems to overcome. And we've been investigating these, working with them and understanding them and finding out how just small little things can make a big difference. And it's been an exciting couple of weeks and we've got more of it to come. But what's some of the biggest takeaways that you took away, Nick, in the last couple of weeks on any of those elements? I mean, communication being the subject of today, so maybe around that, what was your biggest takeaways that you've seen over the last couple of weeks with these businesses that we've been talking to? And lots of different people in the room of different backgrounds, different cultures, different languages. Language becomes a barrier in communication. Different ages, how they communicate, from the older folk to the very young, from utilizing technology to saying, well, I've never even send a text message. It's in a big array. But what's your biggest kind of takeaways that you've seen?
It's been brilliant, right? Because we've had, and it's quite rare, we've had the opportunity to work with groups and then go back to do more work with them and see how you're getting on. Right? For so much of my career, I'd do workshops and then I'd disappear into the ether, right? And they'd never see me again because I was employed to do that 1 day, 2 day workshop. So I never really get to see how is the stuff resonating? How's it embedding itself? What does it look like in the world? So it's been an absolute privilege to go back and say, right, how are you getting on? How are you doing? One of the things that's massively resonated is schemas. Right, schemas, those beautiful mental shortcuts that we can use to illustrate what's it like. Right. So my biggest question, my favorite question, what does it look and feel like? Okay. And to help people explain what does it look like or feel like, schemas are amazing, right? They're the things that you naturally say, oh, it's a bit like this. It's like when this happens. Okay. And if you're trying to get across, let's say, a reasonably complex message, why don't you start with some simple materials and build on top of that until you can get to a bit more of a complex communication and discussion. So it's a bit like when this happens. I spoke on stage a while back now. Someone was talking about property auctions. Okay. And they say, oh, it's a bit like eBay, but with houses. Okay, it's more complex than that, of course. But if you've never known what property auctions are like, it's a bit like eBay, but with houses, right? We know eBay. That's a simple place to start. Okay, and then we can go from there into a slightly more complex understanding. Oh, so right, okay, I get eBay. All right, it's a bit frantic and it gets very exciting towards the end, but it's with houses, right? So that's big numbers. So it's much easier for us to understand where we're going with it, and it's been great for our audiences to come back and just share with us. Actually, it's easier for them to communicate now because of various things that we've shared, and one of those things is the beautiful art of schema.
There you go. So start using schemas in your day-to-day life. And of course, the things that we're talking about here don't only just fit with our business life, but they also fit in our personal life as well. Communicating better with our friends, our family, our, anything that happens outside of that workplace, maybe a charity or an organization or a club or a society that we're involved with. So schemas are awesome tools. Give us another one, Nick, something else that we've worked with, which has really resonated. So we've had the schemas. We've talked a lot about structuring as well, presentations and talks, because quite often people will stand up and talk about X, Y, and Z, and they've had time to prep, but they don't do their planning, preparation, practice, something we spoke about on a previous show. But the structuring of that is also important. The structuring of a conversation is important. So if we're going to have a conversation, we need to think about it before we just jump in 2 feet first.
Yeah, given the chance, yeah, it makes perfect sense to know where you're going. All right, what do you want to achieve from this talk, this communication, this social media post, this whatever it might be? What are you looking to achieve? Think about that first before you go anywhere near the keyboard or the PowerPoint or open your mouth. What am I looking to achieve from this? And then from that, you can start building something that, based on whoever your audience are, is more likely to achieve that with that particular audience. Right? And the people we've been working with have varied audiences. So one day they might be presenting to, let's say, a further education college, and the next day they might be presenting to the board. Right? Different talks, totally different talks, because the audience are very different. So I don't think we give enough thought to what are we looking to achieve by this. And then once you know, right, next place to go is how are you going to hook the audience in? Right? What is the first thing you say that's going to wake up their ears and go, hold on, this is going to be good. This is going to be worth listening to. It's worth getting to the end of this paragraph, this tweet, this TikTok video, this presentation. It hinges on a powerful hook. How are you going to hook your particular audience into your communication?
Because we want them to listen. That's the big thing. We want them to kind of sit up. Wow, this is going to be interesting. What's this individual going to say? What they're going to present? And that leads me very neatly into the art of listening. Communication, people think, is all of doing this, is the talking part. But yeah, it's that, but it's the listening. We've got to actively listen to what's being said to us, and not just listening with our ears, listening with other things. Talk us through, Nick, the art of listening. It's something that you talk lots about, but it's not just these. There's more to it than just our ears, isn't there? What else should we be utilizing to really listen deeply to them conversations?
Yeah, I despair sometimes, right? So much noise going on, the ocean of noise, hence we're drowning in it. We've seemed to have forgotten the art of listening. Very different from hearing. Okay, hearing just kind of a byproduct of all the noise. Listening is an art. Okay, and if you're serious about it, it's not just about your ears. If you're serious, it's about your eyes as well. That's why face-to-face stuff is so much more powerful than, let's say, here's a message, here's a tweet, whatever it might be, because you can see what is being said as well. You can see how much it matters, how passionate the person is about it, where they're coming from, right? Primary school kids get this. Well, when I've done workshops with them and I said, oh, right, this is called active listening, okay? You listen with your eyes and your ears. And they go, what? Yeah, you listen with your eyes and then they have a conversation and then they so get it so quick, okay? I want to see whatever you're talking about. I want to see how you feel about that. I want to see where that's coming from. And when we're having a conversation, I want to see what is the bit that you're most worried about. I want to see the bit that you're happiest about. I want to see the bit that we need to talk about in more detail. And if I'm not focused, ears and eyes, I'm going to miss stuff, right? And then we take it to the next level, right? Us adults, okay? If you're serious about it, you listen with your eyes. This is super active listening. Your eyes, your ears, and your heart. Okay, you let your emotions into the way that you communicate. So super active listening, nobody's doing it, right? Absolutely nobody's doing it. Okay, and we all can. Eyes, ears, and heart. And just see for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, just if you can focus enough to allow your eyes, ears, and heart to get involved in a conversation, you just see where that conversation takes you. See how richer it will be. There's a test, there's a challenge for our lovely audience. Super active listening.
There you go, guys. We've set you a challenge for the rest of this week, which is only, well, depends if you're going to take it up to the weekend or you're going to run it through till Sunday night. But a few days, super active listening. Listen with your ears, listen with your eyes, and listen with your heart. May King has been sitting backstage listening, but not just listening, translating and putting everything out there into the social channels. And I know that's kind of an art in itself, May King, listening, then having to kind of rethink it through and then put it into a text-based format with a grabbed image, popping it out there into the social channels. What is it looking like out there this morning? Is the social channels busy? Are people just kind of filtering on past? People actually commenting? What are we seeing at the moment?
Well, I mean, because I've been actively listening, Nick, haven't had a chance to look at the Twitters yet, just to see if people have liked. But I do really appreciate Simon, Colin, and Sharon's comments. I've actually screenshot all of your valuable nuggets and tweeted them across, so you can check those tweets out on Chatbox PR. But yeah, I was just thinking, whoop whoop, yeah, go Nick, with everything, just agreeing profusely, tweeting like a fury, and also writing a few notes down as well, which I want to share onto Twitter. But yeah, we have, truly listening, like you say, is so important. And you can see it when you're talking to people and they glance over the shoulder just to see if they can get a better prospect at networking events. You've all seen it, and it puts you off. It makes you feel bad, doesn't it? That you're not good enough for that person who's looking over your shoulder, and that that relationship's already broken down. And that was just through that person just looking over your shoulder or looking at their watch. They didn't say a single thing. So yeah, I think we've got a lot of homework to do, all of us, to remember to truly listen rather than hear, and use those tools, our heart, our eyes, and our ears. Love that, Nick. Oh my God, so many good stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely. Something really exciting starting to happen as well. We had some conversations happening the other day. We were communicating with one of our great friends of the show. Some of you will remember Mr. Keith Smith. He's been a co-host on some of the past episodes as well. And we were talking about how we take our business breakfast show and all the other content that we put together kind of to the next level. Some of you know about our book that we're putting together that will be coming out in the not too distant future. Our top tips from lots of business owners. It's exciting. We're just compiling or starting to compile all that together now. And that will be coming to a bookshop or a Amazon store near you soon. But even more exciting, we're thinking about how can we take the business breakfast show to the next level. Nick, tell us what the new show is going to be called when we rebrand it in the coming weeks. This is great.
It is great. Big drum roll. So we are transitioning to the all-day breakfast show. If you're a fan of an all-day breakfast, right, if that's your go-to, then this is the show for you. Because the show is becoming more and more global, somewhere around the world, it's breakfast time. So we are transitioning to the all-day breakfast show. We're anticipating growing our market share in America. Sounds quite formal, doesn't it? So different time zones, different time for breakfast. But the content, the communication, the guests, and the fun, see that lasts all day. Right, so it doesn't matter when you are consuming the show. Okay, it's breakfast somewhere. So we will be the all-day breakfast show. Come along, share a bite to eat, share your thoughts, get stuck in to toast, jam, sausage, bacon, vegetarian somethings, and join the fun. So we're going to become the all-day breakfast show. And when we were just talking about active listening, right, a story popped into my head, and I love to tell a story. And for me, I think everything changed when we were able to send texts on our phones. That was the start of a big transition of the way that us humans communicate. But back in the day, you could only send a certain number of characters, right, in a single text, and every text cost you 10p. So you kind of considered what you were going to write to make it of value, right? You weren't just saying ping, 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 because that's 10p every ping, right? So at least you would compose a message of some form. Anyway, about 20 years ago, it's a long time ago, I was out for a drink with my mate Sean, who lived next door, right? And we went down to the local pub, and we got a beer, we're sitting down, right, ready to have a conversation, and my phone goes off in my pocket, right? It's a text message. So I've learned a lot since then. I get my phone out, look at my text, and I start responding to the text. And I look up, and Sean is on his way out. He's got his coat, and he's on his way. He's leaving the pub. I said, whoa, Sean, where are you going? He said, I thought we were going for a drink, Nick. But clearly we're not, because you've got other things to do. Oh, massive lesson. 20 years ago. I think, sorry, Sean, you're absolutely right. I apologized, put my phone away, and said, yeah, you and I are going out for a drink. No one else is invited, right? And I learned a massive lesson there and then. And it's only got worse, right? Because no one leaves home without their phone anymore. It's always pinging in your pocket, right? There's red dots all over the bloody place because you're so important. And we're so addicted to the dopamine, it's very difficult not to be drawn away. So you go for a drink with a buddy, and there's 4 of you, right? You and your mate and 2 phones. So, massive lesson learned. Thank you, Sean. I am indebted to you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
I often crack a joke that I lost a husband because I was addicted to my phone. There were obviously other problems in their marriage as well, but I have to admit I was addicted to my phone because I felt like I was working, getting on the socials. I had to tweet this. I had to Instagram my dinner and all the rest of it. So love that story, Nick. We should all be like Sean and just call people out next time they're on the phones. I love that.
Yeah, well, absolutely, we should. Talking of text messaging, Nick, you talked about, was it 20 years ago? Anyone want to have a guess what the first text message that was sent and when it was sent? So have a guess. What was the first text message that was sent? What was the context of that text message? Any
You
idea?
you guess making, because I know the answer to this, because I was in the town where the first message was sent. One of the facts I used
Oh,
with my clients. Yeah, have a guess. Have a guess making. How long
What do you think it
ago?
said? What do you think
golly.
it said, making? I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a
Well,
clue. It was in December. It was in December.
um, my partner is watching reruns of Only Fools and Horses at the moment, and they've got the big phones. So that was the 80s. Um, I'm gonna say late 80s.
You're not
Yeah.
far.
Should we
You're
say
not far
89?
off. Yeah, yeah. Well, you're really close. It was the 3rd of December, 1992. So yeah, we've just
Wow.
gone into the 90s. The gentleman was a gentleman called Neil Papworth, and his first text message that he sent, the world's first text message, said "Merry Christmas." There you go. So if you've
Oh.
joined the breakfast show this morning, you go away with some general knowledge that's going to help you when you next play Trivial Pursuit. You'll know the first text message was sent on the 3rd of December, 1992 by Neil Papworth, and it said, "Merry Christmas." And of course, we've come on a long way since then. Now we're, as you said, Nick, we're not worried about the 10p's or the 50p's, whatever it is to send a text message, because it's pretty much free within your mobile data or using your connectivity solution like Wi-Fi. And of course, we're bombarding people with messages, communication in a digital space.
Cheap, easy, convenient, mate. Cheap, easy, convenient.
It's every
Fell in love
time.
with it. Overdone it. Just ocean of noise. Imagine if you could only send one message a day. What? How would that change your approach to communication? Right? You're only allowed to have one conversation a day. Okay. You're only allowed to watch one thing a day. You're only allowed to send one message a day. You would treasure and save that for the really important stuff. Right. And chances are the quality of our messages, the quality of our conversations would go up because we'd relish them. But because cheap, easy, convenient, we can do 1,000 of these every day. We can watch 2 or 3 things at once. We can multitask until we can't focus on anything. The quality just disappears. Right? And I wonder how many people would use emojis instead of words if you could only send one message each day.
Yeah.
And we should challenge ourselves, mate. We should challenge ourselves. One message a day.
That's going to be tough. That'd be tough. Wow. We could give it a go. We could try. We could see how long we last. All of about 20 minutes probably. Or something like that.
Yeah. How rude, right? You send a message and someone messages back, but you can't send another one. That's it.
Yeah. And you can't tell them I've run out of messages, so you can't even send that.
No.
Yeah, well, we can give it a whirl.
That is the issue. Cheap, easy, convenient is a real issue because it's free, right? We don't really value it. So you can send hundreds of the bloody things, and everybody does. It's raining down on us, right? So much noise, so much nonsense as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're coming to the end of the show. We're going to have to wrap things up. And we've gone through a whole show today about communication, and we haven't mentioned the word. Well, we kind of alluded to AI, but we haven't mentioned the word AI, and we haven't mentioned the word ChatGPT. I'm quite surprised because I thought in a communication show we would have been throwing it out there left, or I would have done, because I still think this is the new era. The AI world is going to change the way we communicate, maybe for better, certainly, for worse as well. Is it going to change the way we communicate? Is it going to make our communication stronger? Are we humans going to start thinking differently because we've got the power at our fingertips to get all that information and process it and prepare it ready to send? I don't know. It's a really interesting one.
Here's a question for the audience to ponder. Okay, so ChatGPT and others. So I see Microsoft have embedded an AI into Teams. So let's imagine AI just gets better and better and better. Okay, you can set AI the task to have a look at all my emails, have a look at all my text messages, have a bit of a free for all, right? Trawl through all my stuff, and discover how I communicate. So in future, you can do the communicating for me. And if it's really good, I'll read messages. I won't know what's me and what's my AI of choice. Would you be comfortable allowing AI to do all of that communicating for you? And if you were, what would you reserve to the human bit? What bit would you do? Because my suggestion is, if that scenario played out, the bit that you reserved for you is the stuff that you should be focused on. The rest is just nonsense.
It's a very good way to look at it. Very good way. It'll be quite strange, won't it? Because we won't know what has come from that AI, because as you say, learns from the way we communicate. So it kind of impersonates and takes over. But then that could start sending messages, and the person receiving it is thinking, is this really David, or is this David's kind of Doppler, sending that message? Does he really mean it or not? In other words, a message could end up in my wife's mobile through whatever platform I'm sending. It could be an email, and she's going to thinking, I wonder if this is really David. Does he really mean this, or is this the chat, AI putting this together? And what happens?
Because her chat AI will be sending the message back. You won't even be connected. you don't even need to be aware. They'll be having a lovely time, but behind your back.
And at what point could that chat get us into trouble from a criminal point of view, or slanderous, or something like that? At what point we can turn around and say, it wasn't me, I didn't do it, it was my chatbots that created that, my AI wrote that and sent it, and no, I didn't mean to say I was going to murder you, or whatever that example is going to be. I don't know. It's super exciting.
I'm worried about the relationship in the Bell household.
I've changed away from my wife. I'm just talking generically.
Oh, right. Okay.
That could be sent
Well,
out.
my sister actually had to deliver a presentation, and she is amazing at stats, but talking in front of people and giving some information and presenting it. Speaking in public is one of the scariest things that people can do. So she actually used ChatGPT to sort of think about what kind of things that she could put into the presentation, and she was co-delivering it with her colleague. And she actually put into the presentation, I can't quite remember the words, but she did actually say, there were, I think maybe there was a credits at the end of, her being a co-presenter, her colleague being a co-presenter, but she also put Chat GPT as well in there, just so that people can understand that, it wasn't completely her work. Chat GPT actually helped her with that. And she also was trying to get her teenage son. She probably won't appreciate me sharing this story online, but it's done now. She wanted to encourage her son to get work placement, and so he had to write a covering note. Being a teenage son, it's not a high list on his list of priorities. So she put covering note ideas through ChatGPT, and together her and the son looked at amending it. But it came out with an incredible first draft. Then they amended it, sent it off, and it actually got them a placement at a local museum. So it does work to a point, but we still need the human interaction to sort of put the final finishing touches on it. So not all AI needs to involve a death of a wife or a partner.
No, absolutely not. I must just clarify in case my wife is watching this or someone sends her a message and says, have you seen what David was talking about? I wasn't talking about murdering my wife. I was talking about the chat sending a message on my behalf to somebody.
Not standing up in any court.
Very
standing up in any court in this land, my friend.
And I'm just realising on my other screen here, I keep an eye on obviously the broadcast, what's going out, and I just realised it's saying about obviously all the closed captions are coming up and saying David murdering his wife, and all the time I'm starting to peak. What type of show is this we've got on this morning?
Welcome to the all-day breakfast show.
But I suppose we need to think about closing the show down, and but yeah, in a whole, take that scenario making. I think that's smart. You're utilizing the digital tools that are out there. You're letting it help you prepare something that can do it better than the individual can. Of course, you've got to sense check it, read it through, proof it, make sure it's not Americanized if you're sending it in, obviously in the UK and so forth, so forth. So I do think that this digital transformation, this AI is going to play a big part in everybody's day-to-day life. We're going to see, you mentioned, Nick, about Microsoft. They use the ChatGPT platform. They invested $10 billion and they're probably throw a lot more at it. And they're embedding it into their office suite. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint. There's platforms out there at the moment. You can just put in the content, create your script for a present, and it will design your slides for you. There's a story for another day, Nick, because we know what we say about using slides. But how great is that if you're time poor, you've got to create something and put it together. So I've had this idea, and I'm going to leave this here as a kind of a final thought from me today. My next live presentation, I'm going to let ChatGPT design it, build it, and write it. And then I'm going to present it. So I obviously will give it the kind of the fundamentals. This is what my talk's about. And I will tell the audience, by the way, this is a ChatGPT design presentation because I want to see what it does. I want to see if it can be as good as a human.
Man.
I know you're not loving this, Nick, but think about this. This is a marketing opportunity to test something and see if it really is that good or not.
You should never have told people. You should never have told people. Imagine, right? Imagine you've spent good money. So I tell you, we need to speak at our event. We need that magical David Bell. He knows what he's talking about, and he's just let the world know. So it's I'm too busy for that. I'll let someone else do it for you. Oh man. And then Alexa will present it for you. The world's gone bonkers. The world's gone bonkers.
There's a good idea. We'll give that a go.
It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. And my fear is, right? My fear is, so it's smart. I get it, right? It's smart to let AI do some of the heavy lifting, come up with the draft, come up with the ideas, and then we'll tweak it. What if I don't have access to it? Right? What if I'm really good at, let's say, working in a museum? I'm so passionate about it. I'd be amazing at it, but I don't have access to AI, or I didn't think about that. So my covering letter was from the heart, but wasn't as good. But oh my goodness gracious, if I got the opportunity to work in the museum, I would change the world for that museum. But I was outwitted by the technology. My fear is if we let the tech do too much of the heavy lifting, we get very used to just doing our little bit. And our little bit's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller because the tech's going to get smarter, faster, and better. So it only takes one ChatGPT presentation to go down okay before you do the next one and next one and the next one. I fear it. I think it's going to be amazing. And I think the opportunities are huge. And I'll be interested to know what the audience thinks, because it's coming anyway, right? like all this stuff, it's on its way. But I think the future, I think of those people at school right now, leaving school anytime soon, if you absolutely dominate the world of AI, know your way around that, can bring that into my business for me and automate, then you're never going to be out of work until the AI puts you out of work. But yeah, I'm concerned. I think it's amazing, but I have a few reservations, and I will sit in that presentation, my friend, at the back of the room and make some notes.
Yeah, it will be interesting. It's in the aid of research. Okay, that's what I'm doing. I want to see if AI can create something. Okay, as a human, I'm going to deliver it, but can it create the content and including the slides that match the content, and I will deliver it, obviously not quite word for word, but pretty much word for word as it's created it. And can it be as intriguing, as educational, as informative, and as fun as it would be if I was standing up there delivering it with my own creative hat on? I want to know if that in the art of research is true.
What if it's better than you?
Well, then I've got some work to do.
It won't be. It won't be. It won't be better than David, because of course with AI, it's all about humans need to feed into AI in order for them to function and bring out the right algorithms and all the rest of it. But what it can't do is bring in personality. And David has a fabulous personality. He has experience as well, and you can't bring that into the presentation. So AI can do a few bits, but it can't. It can't be David. It can't be David's personality, his experience, his vibrancy, and all the rest of it. So it can't be better. And I'm not just saying that just to blow smoke up his bottom, Nick.
I don't know.
It can't be
He's
better
he's
than
a bit
David.
rusty. We've had a pandemic. There's not been many opportunities to get on stage making. We'll have to put this to the test.
We'll give it a go. I agree with you, Simon. Don't allow the tech to interrupt the important moments. It's there for convenience, not for the senders. Obviously, this is great, Simon. Absolutely. Good morning to Lee. He comes from the tech industry. Lee, good morning. What do you think about AI? Is it the future? Is it the art of communication? Is it going to make us better communicators? Is it going to take away the human elements? This is a great discussion, but we are sadly out of time this week. We're coming up to the top of the hour, 9 o'clock in the morning, and the day has just begun for most of us. So if you're enjoying your cornflakes, your cup of coffee, maybe a slice of toast with peanut butter and jello on it, it's time to finish enjoying it, because we are done for another Thursday morning. We are back here next week. More great communication to have and to talk about here live on the show. So do join us next Thursday morning from 8 o'clock. Until then, it's goodbye from me and my AI friends.
And cheerio from me.
Until next week, see you all soon. Bye-bye.